Welcome to Making Stuff with Chris Dayhut and our segment titled The Zoomtown Experiment. I need to start with an apology today. I am sorry for running late on this episode. I do consulting for a large international company, and they have been keeping me really busy, which is always a welcome thing. I really enjoy working with that customer. This could continue for the remainder of the year, but I will try to stay on this 2-week release schedule. It just has to float around whatever demands of my time they need of me. So I apologize for that. Now on to the Zoomtown experiment, where I just assembled 5 Zoomies. There is a lot of work to assemble these little robots. Oftentimes there isn't room to route wires or get into places where you need them. At times, I can't even see what I'm trying to do with it. One of the purposes of today's video is to explain what is different between this version and the previous version. So I'll try to go through and point out the differences, and in most cases, if you've been following along in the series, you'll already know the reason why. Missing in this version are the Hall effect sensors, as they are not needed in this current system. They're no longer used. That has saved a bit of time and added a bit more space to route wires in that area of the Zoomie, which is a good thing. One of the issues I found in testing is that the TCRT 5000 sensors could move in their pockets, the little areas where they are held within the chassis bottom. With just 3D printed parts, I could not get a consistent and perfect friction fit to hold the sensor in place. So I've utilized hot glue to help hold them in places, and not only for the TCRT 5000s, but any other devices that are hard to keep contained. Some of the mechanical components have changed, requiring me to reprint a lot of parts. The wire shield on the top deck needed a slight change to work more effectively. The motor clamp and sensor bracket needed a few changes to get more clearance for the body and to beef up the distance sensor mounting. I had it break a couple of times on some of the earlier Zoomies. The bottom deck needed more space for the motor and encoder wiring. That was a nightmare trying to get all that to fit in the original space, so I had to modify it. It was also modified to facilitate wire routing. Again, another nightmare on this tiny little Zoomie robot. The caster wheel has been replaced by a skid plate. The casters created a number of random problems, often related to dirt, that made me remove them. I figured they were more trouble than worth, so I just went with the old traditional skid plate. The skid plate was used in a lot of the testing and proved to be a much better choice. The wheels needed a slight adjustment in their offset, and that is a distance that it moves away from the body, or away from the chassis, I should say. This modification allows for better clearance between the chassis and the body and the wheel, giving the tool more clearance so it can't rub on any of them. The tray used to hold a power supply, motor driver, and encoder interface needed to be tweaked to provide better access to the connectors. There is a lot of wires in that area and access is very limited. One of the issues about building is finding problems after the Zoomie is fully built. In the past, every Zoomie I've built, I just built the whole thing and then started testing. With most of the connections and components on the bottom deck, I would have to take apart the whole Zoomie to fix problems, which most likely were on the bottom deck. This time I decided to build some small test controllers to perform mid-construction testing. That way I could shake out and rattle out any problems at that stage before I built all the rest of the decks on top of it. That will do it for this video. Next time we'll take a look at power-up testing. If you have already subscribed, thank you very much. I really appreciate you doing that. And in fact, I really appreciate it if you've watched this video all the way to the end. It really does help the channel to grow. And remember, always feel free to leave comments down below. Well, that wraps it up for this episode. Hopefully I'll see you again in 2 weeks, if not, hopefully 3. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.